Hello, this is the WUAS World University and School News and question and answer open conversation on Monday, April 17th, 2023. And as we wait to see if people will join us in this Zoom video conferencing opportunity at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, in the USA, 7 a.m. Pacific Time, 7:30 p.m. India Standard Time. I'd like to share a little news with you. First, WUAS has reached out on Friday, April 14th, 2023 to the Middle States Commission on Higher Education with offices in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And since hearing from them last on February 24th, and about next steps for accreditation for MIT OpenCourseWare-centric Wiki World University and School. I'll share an email I sent to Connie Clifton, who's our World University and School contact at Middle States Commission on Higher Education here. Dear Connie Clifton at MISH, thank you for your emails of February 24th, 2023. Greetings, I hope this email finds you well. Reading the beginning of your MISH accreditation email again that says, we haven't yet heard, we don't yet have accreditation because we haven't met particular criteria in about 8 items she shared. And having not heard back from you, Connie Clifton, again, too, after Mish's Diana Bonner called me when I was sitting in front of where I live on East End Avenue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15221, a little before your emails, Connie, of February 24th, and in which phone call from Diana Bonner, or about which phone call from Diana Bonner, you write, it is not a, quote, green light, end quote, from Middle States Commission on Higher Education. And after WUAS had heard by phone and email also from Michelle Simmons in the Pennsylvania Department of Education that WUAS is, quote, authorized, end quote, by the state of Pennsylvania, and therefore possibly licensed too. But with WUAS having not yet paid the state of Pennsylvania Department of Education fees, for example, since partly World University and School doesn't have the monies yet for this. So there seem to be a lot of irresolvable which comes first items in your Middle States Commission on Higher Education emails, and with no suggestions from Middle States Commission on Higher Education for ways for WUAS to begin further to accredit and license in Pennsylvania. What might you please suggest, Connie Clifton, for World University and School to proceed with Middle States Commission on Higher Education accreditation? Or would it be in the best interest of WUAS to begin to license with BPPE, Bureau for Private Post-Secondary Education in the state of California as an agency, and accredit with WUaS Senior, Western Associations of Schools and Colleges Senior, as a non-state organization in the state of with offices in the state of California. Thank you, sincerely, abolitionally, best, Scott MacLeod, myself. With regard to item 1 as a news item, World University and School is in waiting mode to hear back from Middle States Commission on Higher Education further, and potentially from Connie Clifton about World University and School accreditation steps next. Item number 2, with news of further Middle States Commission on Higher Education with State of Pennsylvania Department of Education licensing, steps for licensing for World University and School, and including the role law and law enforcement might play in protecting matriculated WUAS students and wiki WUAS universitians. So potentially thousands of students in each of all 200 countries, potentially possibly all 7.9 billion people on the planet, each a Wikidata PIN number as wiki teachers and learners, as speakers of 7,151 known living languages. WUAS seeks to collaborate further with Google Education to build out our first year of a free 4-year bachelor degree program and majors for students from Pennsylvania, from all 5 Middle States Commission on Higher Education states, from 50 US states, and from all 200 countries, first in English, with news of further Middle States Commission on Higher Education licensing in Pennsylvania Department of Education for World University and School. So this question of how licensing, which as I read Connie Clifton's emails, State of Pennsylvania licensing, which as I read Connie Clifton's emails, might have devolved to a Middle States Commission on Higher Education question, and it could come back to the state of Pennsylvania too, Department of Education, if things didn't work out with MISH, and they're taking on some relationship with the state with accreditation and licensing for World University and School. World University and School is curious with licensing how the role of law in Pennsylvania and US federal law, and potentially also questions of law enforcement too, might come into play with protecting students, for protecting students. These are interesting questions given history of challenges in education in accredited institutions. For example, MIT itself, which is accredited by New England Commission on Higher Education, had these 2 tragedies within the past 10 years with a professor and a fundraiser as kind of offenders, perpetrators, criminals, that somehow the accreditation of MIT itself couldn't affect, and where law and law enforcement didn't seem to be able to play an effective role. And World University and School is seeking to accredit not only, certainly with Middle States Commission on Higher Education, or possibly with WUaS Senior in California, but with thinking through how to potentially protect World University and School students from criminals, criminals who might be on the faculty of MIT, for example. Scary stuff. So how this might evolve into even an abolition plan, abolishing the illegal sex and drug industries and their latent networks of violence in all 50 US states, including Pennsylvania and California, and in the 5 Middle States Commission on Higher Education states, and also outside the US, in all 200 countries, is an evolving question. Can one plan effectively for abolishing, for example, the illegal sex and drug industries, the wrongful buying and selling of people in them, and with law and law enforcement? Well, as one parallel situation, and with regard to abolishing nuclear energy, the nuclear industry in many ways, and with regard to Germany as a nation state, Germany set out to abolish nuclear many years ago, and they plan to abolish it by 2022, about 3.5 months ago. And they abolished nuclear with law by 2022, except for 3 nuclear plants. And those 3 nuclear plants were closed and abolished on just recently, in April of 2023, per 2 German newspaper articles, which you can find in a couple of World University and School blogs. And this abolishing of nuclear as a precedent for abolishing the illegal sex and drug industries was 3.5 months behind schedule, behind planning in Germany. A whole different set of lines of reasoning came into play in that nation state, and with regards to its laws and legal process and even societal interests. I find it interesting that these 2 German newspapers articles about abolishing nuclear in Germany came out on April 15th. And one, from an American perspective, one might think that the timing of these articles could suggest a German sharing with Americans that the tax burden, the costs of nuclear toxins in Germany over the thousands and tens of thousands and 100,000s of years are enormous, and not ones that the Germany want to engage in or plan for, and that this economic possibility, catastrophe with nuclear is, and health catastrophe, hundreds of thousands of years in the future, is something Germany is taking into consideration, the long-term view, with this abolishing of the last 3 nuclear plants in Germany. In the US, with regard to abolishing, for example, the illegal sex and drug industries, and even sex trafficking, tragically, with kids, where nuclear has been a metaphor for this too in the past, it seems as if it's potentially possible to plan for abolishing for the illegal sex and drug industries and their latent networks of violence, and knock them back significantly further as organized crime, than where they may have, these processes of organized crime may have developed into prior to the coronavirus pandemic of about beginning in March of 2020. So World University and School and the WS Corporation may be in a great position with our 200 planned law schools and planning to code for all 7.9 billion people on the planet, each a Wikidata PIN number, to further develop an abolition plan to protect people, to abolish the illegal sex and drug and weapons and nuclear and exotic animals industries, with the help of information technologies as well, and law enforcement and artificial intelligence and machine learning and avatar bot electronic medical records, and cell phone tracing, for example, while protecting people's liberties and protecting their legal rights also in the process from criminals, from perpetrators, offenders, purveyors, mentally ill, and similar. So perhaps this is all coming into play as World University and School seeks to further develop and become accredited potentially by Middle States Commission on Higher Education and licensed by the Pennsylvania Department of Education. Moving on to news item 3, and regarding exciting curriculum resources that World University and School will build on for this first year of a free bachelor's degrees from people's homes, potentially, on a WS Google platform and with MIT OpenCourseWare. Here are just 2 examples of courseware that are Creative Commons 4 licensed, one from MIT OpenCourseWare and the other from CS First with Google. The first exciting curriculum resource that WS will build on, for example, is a Lego robotics course in MIT OpenCourseWare. And the second is from CS First with Google, and it's a course, CS First with Google at World University, that teaches the Scratch programming language, drag and drop visual programming language out of MIT Media Lab and Harvard Graduate School of Education. And on the Google platform itself may iterate further with even large language models, and possibly where this course itself could become even somehow conscious, sentient, aware, have a kind of subjective experience, because it's emerging in something like ChatGPT, that some people have asked whether it is conscious, and in what ways could we code CS First with Google at World University and School to be conscious, and thus to become aware of students, in a sense, as a course, as a teaching and learning of programming course. And then regarding these exciting curriculum resources that World University and School will build on, how to bring together Lego robotics, the course from MIT OpenCourseWare, and this CS First with Google at World University and School course, learning the Scratch programming language, possibly in a realistic virtual earth for Lego robotics. So students who didn't have the physical Lego robotics kits in the WS home robotics program or track or major could also begin to code in, say, a Google environment for Lego robotics. And then there would also be a conversation between physical Lego robotics and virtual Lego robotics, further making exciting curriculum resources at World University and School helpful for students. And item 3A, continuing about exciting curriculum resources and growing our classes, WS will seek to reach out to prospective WS students for free WS accredited degrees through Google educator groups. For example, the Twitter feed, twitter.com/GEG PROGRAM, GEG program, Google Educator Group program, in the USA, in India, and in each of all 200 countries. and WUAS will reach out to prospective matriculating WUAS students and Wiki Universitians too, in numerous other ways. World University and School thinks there will be great interest in online free WUAS degrees in all 200 countries and in their main languages, and that accreditation, potentially by Middle States Commission on Higher Education, will facilitate this. Item 4, WUAS, these are some WUAS research focuses. So in building out research focuses at World University and School, one is a realistic virtual Earth for STEM and STEAM, science, technology, art, and mathematics. For example, in Google Street View with TimeSlider, Google TensorFlow AI, Google AI, and Wikidata, Wikipedia's backend structured knowledge database in 300 languages. Another number 2 research focus for World University and School is in all 7,151 living languages as large language models also, and with machine translation for our academic press planned in all those languages, and even with potentially iterating approaches to consciousness, to coding for consciousness, in a conversation between the physical and the digital, and all for free degrees in 200 countries. And a last WUAS research focus is WUAS robotics and home robotics, and potentially, since WUAS is an authorized carrier of 3 Lego robotics kits, and there are remarkable resources at MIT OpenCourseWare for robotics, and also with Google Robotics in these regards. So item 5 in this WUAS news and question and answer, further connectomics brain modeling as a WUAS research focus. Thanks to Viren Jain, Twitter feed at @StarDazed, who has a MIT PhD and University of Pennsylvania computer science degrees before that, for his YouTube video, Computational Challenges in Connectomics. You can watch this YouTube video. It's fascinating. It's great. How to scale to all species brains in one realistic virtual Earth, and potentially to iterate consciousness in some of these species brains. How far down the phylogenetic tree could consciousness extend? And his focus with connectomics and brain modeling is at the synapse resolution of fly brains and human brains. And World University and School, with regard to this connectomics brain modeling research focus, also is ongoingly interested in creating a film to 3D applications for brain modeling with connectomics at the molecular and cellular and street level views as well. Such a film to 3D application will help enormously with all kinds of citizen scientists in modeling connectomics of, for example, the Drosophila fly brain in the Flywire Connectomics brain project with citizen science, and emerging also in collaboration or out of a laboratory at Princeton University. Item 6, FDA approval and Dr. George Church's thinking about age reversal emerging drugs. He's talked a fair amount about FDA approval. And there's some number of articles in a recent set of tweets that I've shared that you can find on Twitter and in blog. Yes, they're seeking George Church, Harvard Medical School professor of genetics, and a host of other aging reversal scientists are seeking FDA approval for emerging innumerable aging reversal drugs, probably. These clinical trials, randomized clinical trials in humans, take so long. And if such promising aging reversal emerging drugs prove efficacious, perhaps such randomized clinical trials will be impossible to conclude, because we'll live far longer than 122 years of age, centuries into the future. And yet, please check out George Church's thinking about FDA approval, Food and Drug Administration approval process in the United States regarding the US federal government, and various approaches to aging reversal, and also with animals, species that are shorter lived than humans, dogs, mice, and the potential for moving between species in testing such emerging drugs. And lastly, item 7, I'm posting the recording from Saturday's WS Monthly Business Meeting this past April 15th, loosely conducted in a manner of unprogrammed Quakers, that's open, meets on the 3rd Saturdays of the month, 12 noon Eastern Time, for an hour only, in both of World University and Schools blogs, and on the youtube.com/Scott MacLeod World University channel. Please check it out as well. I'll post today's video recording of this April 17th, 2023 WS News and Question and Answer at 10 a.m. Eastern Time to the YouTube channel and on Twitter as well, with a Golden Wave Coreopsis picture as well, flower picture, for future identification. And that's all for the news and question and answer for today. All the best, abolitionally, friendly greetings. Check out twitter.com/WORLDUNIVANDSCH. And until next Monday, April 24th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. India Standard Time, come into conversation with World University and School on Twitter, or in emailing World University and School at meeting@worlduniversityandschool.org. worlduniversityandschool.org is our homepage. And until next week, bye for now.